we're not here to make up the numbers, we're here to compete as well. This squad, with the power they have on their day, they can do anything they want.
Hello and welcome to Stourbridge FC Women's Monthly Press Conference. Today we are joined by manager Mike Harris and our new captain Kelsey Richardson. How are you both doing?
Good, yeah, good. Rested after the weekend. Had a nice bit of time off, didn't we? But yeah, all good to go. Excited to go for the week again. And it's a bit darker out now, isn't it? But yeah, all good to go.
Excellent. Look, Mike, there's lots to go through, so if at any point we need to cut it short, please just let us know, because there's been a lot of questions, and as you can imagine, a lot's happened since we last spoke in September. But we'll start off with just the one loss in the last 5 games, Mike, and that was away to the top of the league, Burnley. 2 last-minute equalisers against 2 established Tier 3 sides. A win against Sphinx, was it, in the County Cup, and then a win against 7-2 against West Bromwich Albion. What's the morale like in the camp at the moment, Mike?
Really good. Really good. The girls are in a good place. I think the weekend off came at a really good time. We're one of the only teams, I think, in the league who played every single week and every single midweek game possible. So we've managed to keep injuries down. We only had 1 or 2 kind of who've been out for a number of time, or a length of time. But mentally, I think it was really important to have a weekend off. We had opportunities to play other teams this weekend, and we turned it all down, because I think it was just important to have a bit of time with friends and family and a bit of time to recharge.
The team's going through a lot of highs at the moment. How do you plan to keep the momentum going?
Keep winning. I think the biggest thing is not losing perspective. We spoke after Burnley, and they were still disappointed with the Burnley loss, despite the fact that it was Burnley. But we speak a lot during the week now. We talk on Tuesday and Thursday before training. We don't just talk about footage and all of that stuff. We talk about kind of how we fit into the league, what our objectives are, and some of those objectives aren't specifically related to simply just points. There's lots of bits that we work on every single week. So for us, it's just having the right focus every single week. We've got some really challenging fixtures coming up in this month, but we won't be judged this season based on how we perform against, your Newcastle United to the world. Our bigger games are in other games, but we love causing an upset too. So yeah, it's a fun league to be in. We're in a fun position. We're not under the same pressures as other teams are, I think, at the moment. So for us, it's just doing a lot of the right things, but carry on pushing on as well, not settling with what we've done already. You don't secure safety. You don't win anything in October. It's all about, where are you at the business end of the season. So just trying to manage perspective and do all the right things.
There's been 3 departures this month. 2 club legends, you could say, who've both captained this club, in Amber Lawrence and Courtney Murphy, and a fan's favourite in Meg Hadley as well. Can you give us any detail into maybe why they're no longer part of the club at all?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I just want to reiterate how grateful we are for all 3 of them and all of the girls who are here at the club over the last few years, be that for 1 or 2 years or for 5 years. They've all had a massive role in where we are now and bringing us to this point. I think the biggest thing is that I want the girls to be happy, and I want all of them to be out there enjoying their football. And sometimes that needs to be somewhere else. Be that, of their own choice. The most important thing is they're playing football in a place where they're going to get what they want from football and they're going to enjoy it. It's a tough squad to battle into. It's a really good group of players. The demands of the league are huge. I spoke to a former colleague yesterday. He said he couldn't believe the standard of Tier 3. Having watched Championship and Super League football, we couldn't believe quite how good Tier 3 was. And the demands of the game are huge. The demands of the level are massive. And when you then got a squad of 26 players, which is what it was when I took over 8 weeks ago, actually, you've got a lot of league winners in there, and some of those league winners don't want to sit on the bench, and I completely understand that. And part of that mentality is why we are where we are now. But we've had 76 players at this club over the last 5 years, from all the way from Tier 6 all the way up through, and I'm grateful for for every one of them for being part of the process. And you know, as a club, we have to work every single week to meet the demands of the level, and that's what we're trying to do.
Mike, you brought in Ellie Butler since the last time we spoke. What is it that you saw based on her that you wanted at Stourbridge?
Yeah, so Ellie is a former Championship footballer. She's played for Wolves, she's played for Oxford United. There's a brilliant amount of experience there. Physically, she's superb. You know, her fitness levels are outstanding. Her speed is very, very good. You know, the numbers she's returning from all the GPS data is brilliant. I think you saw the massive threat against Albion. She became the player that we looked up the pitch and found in and behind their back line. But what she also did brilliantly that night was keep the ball when we got up there as well. You know, she did a brilliant job of getting us up the pitch and then playing the right pass at the right time and being secure on the ball. And there's a level of confidence there that we really like. And, you know, she's still growing as a player. She's still a young footballer. But, you know, she's got a wealth of experience. And as she gets more and more confident and starts to learn the group a little bit more and relaxes into it, she's just going to get better every week. So, you know, really pleased with the way that she started. That's a brilliant core now group forward line. If you've got Ellie, Senna, Neve, Jade and Mil Rogers, that's not a bad five to have at any level. So, but it's about having a core group, and Ellie contributes to that group in different ways. So, excited to see how she carries on growing.
You've got Kelsey sitting next to you today as your captain. What made you choose Kelsey to be Lammy's successor?
Kels has a wealth of football, wealth of experience at the level. I think the biggest thing for me is I don't necessarily think the loudest player on the pitch should be captain, or the player that's kind of almost been the expected player from old traditions in football. For me, it's about you know, if you have the hardest working player on the pitch, if you have the player who has a really strong mentality, something the girls can get on board with. And for me, there's somebody that kind of typifies what is a Stourbridge player, but also is incredibly humble at the same time. I think that's a really good mix for us. And I think Kelsey, having known the level for so long, and being a good person first and foremost, I think is, for me, ticks every box that needs to be ticked. So yeah, really pleased with the way that she started. Sorry to embarrass you. Really pleased with the way that she started and the way she's fitted in, but not just fitted in. I think she's brought the group forward in her own way too. So very happy.
Kelsey, a few questions for yourself. What has been your initial thoughts since you've joined Stourbridge, and did you know anybody before you came?
I feel like, because I've not been used to change because I've been at a club for so long before, it was just like I fitted in straight away. I was surprised with how quick it was. The girls kept me under the wing straight away, and I just felt comfortable straight away. And I think it's showing on the pitch now that they bring the best out of you as much as I can try and bring the best out of them. But it helped because I knew Rosie. I've known Rosie since I was 9. Used to play at Crew together. Known Tash, obviously. Can't forget that one. Used to play with her since I was 16, and then Lex and Ez in my career at Stoke when I was there.
How do you plan to put your own mark onto this team, especially now that you're a captain?
As long as I can try and bring, like, even if it's 5% or 10% out of a player, making them feel more comfortable, or if they can come to me for support or anything like that, then that's the person I am. I'd rather be that type of player on the pitch. But on a personal level, I just like to make an impact in, I don't know, my free kicks or my work ethic on the pitch, but every single week I want to do that and be consistent in it.
How would you best describe the coaching staff and the training sessions compared to the years that you had at Stoke City?
I can't fault them really. Every session that they put on, there's a meaning behind it, and that just shows how much work they're putting on the outside, whereas we could have a rest on a Monday night, but they're still planning on a Monday, getting everything ready, so there's no excuses for a Sunday. We've just got to go and put that on the pitch on a Sunday, but we couldn't do that without the preparation or the facilities that they're giving us to do that.
And we've seen quite a few new players come in, a few players leave in your short time already. How would you best describe how this team has evolved this season?
I do think there's been a lot of changes, whether it's management or players leaving, like you say, but I think we've had a few ups and downs, but I do think that was due to how many changes we have. Whereas the past 5 or 6 weeks now, we're getting this consistency. You're seeing what Stourbridge is about, and I do think that's due to everything's calming down more, and we're getting used to each other. The relationships are building on the pitch as much as they're building off it. So as long as we can keep that going, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, so questions for you again, Mike. You have abundance of players at your disposal, all capable of Tier 3 level. How do you choose your 16-player squad for each game?
Yeah, it's really difficult because, like you say, we've got 19, 20 really good footballers. I think the other thing that the world needs to see is that we were the only team in Tier 3 who played 28 players so far this season already. So we've had the most changes in the squad, and like Kelsey said, I think part of the reason for some of our successes was starting to settle down. That being said, there's still plenty of challenges that arise every single week. We've also got young players in the club who are very capable and deserve opportunities. They put their faith in us and their football in our hands, and you've seen the success we've had with introducing Senna already. There are more stars down in that reserve team who could absolutely come up given the right time and opportunities. But picking a 16 is really difficult. I think the biggest thing is that I think we found something that works at the level. I think we understand the level well now, where we can begin to tweak things and we can begin to change personnel in a way that actually doesn't move us too far away from what we know works, and allows us to go into every game using that squad as best as we can. And it's going to take a squad of players, not a team of 11 or a group of 16. It's going to take a squad of players to do well in this league.
Yeah, with the workload of the first team this season, it would have been easy to neglect the reserve team and the development team. That's not been the case. So just a word on your thoughts about the two say pathway teams and how the reserves and development have done.
Yeah, so I think probably the bit that people don't know is one of the busiest chats I have every week is the one with Ken and Mark and Harry and Cal and the pathway staff, because it is so important that we get it right and we offer what I think is the most achievable pathway to the highest level of football. There's some very talented players at this level, and to hone your own players or to give your under 16s the best opportunities to come into the women's section of the club. If your pathway is neglected, you don't get centres and those kind of players. So the work going on behind the scenes with them carries every single week. It is as busy, if not more busy at times, than the first team management chat. So, we're really focused on doing things the right way, in a sustainable way as well, not just pumping horrendous money at everything, but actually, how do we make sure that this development team will still be here in 5 years' time, the reserve team will still be here in 5 years' time, and not just here, but contributing to the first team and contributing to the club, and actually is a brilliant experience and a brilliant opportunity for young women to carry on their footballing experience.
Yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on the cup draws that we've got coming up next month. So the FA Cup draw away to Wolves, and obviously the County Cup to Rugby Borough as well. Yeah,
two tough draws. I think the world would agree. Our FA Cup luck seems to continue. We've had Wolves away twice, Derby away, and Peterborough away in the last 4 years. So the first round probably hasn't been kind to us, but we are probably for the first time best placed for an upset, best placed to go there and give Wolves a hell of a game, which I know we will. Having spoken to people that we know, it's not just us who think it's a tough draw, it's Wolves who think it's a tough draw. And I think that's a showing of where we're at as a club. Both sides will have wanted different draws in that competition, and you're now turning up to what could have been a very, very different Sunday. You're now turning up to a massive fixture for both clubs, and we're really excited about it. We've come a long, long way in the 8 weeks between our last game and there, and we've learnt a lot of lessons, and we will go and do what we've done every single year, which is take everything that we've learned before into that game and go into that game and try and cause the upset. But it feels like less of an upset than it would have been 1 year ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You're talking about two teams in the same league now, and two teams who've had good results and bad results this season. So I think both sets will be up for it, and we'll look forward to the game.
So back to you now, Kelsey. Which players did you look up to when you were younger?
I hate to say it because of who he played for and things, but Paul Scholes was a massive legend. He got, his passing ability and that on the pitch, and his aggression, and just the want to do his best for the team, really.
Yeah. So next question is, what do you think we need in the squad now to consolidate our good start, plus push us on to the next level?
That's a good question.
I think we need just stay how it is to keep the positivity going, because I think we're the best when we are the underdog. So when we are under the cosh, this is when you see the proper Stourbridge, the fight, the togetherness that we have got on the pitch. So as long as we keep that mentality that we're never out of the game until the actual final whistle's gone, and we can keep doing it.
Yeah. And how would you describe the atmosphere when playing at the War Memorial Ground?
Well, I wouldn't like being away team coming here, put it that way. I think it's an intimidating place to come, but as a home player, it's something that, like when you're under the cosh, that is, you hear the fans and it does push you on a bit more. If your legs are killing and you're in extra time, they would push you on that bit more as well. But the whole feel around the club's nice. Like, people just come because they enjoy the football and the love for the club. You don't get it at many places, really.
Yeah. Also, you had 14 years at Stoke. You must have played with a good few players there. If there was one player you could bring to Stour, who would that be and why?
That is a good question. Oh, there's a few and I could be in trouble with it. Person I have to say is Holly Gibson. I've played with her since I was 6 when I first was at Newcastle Town, and then I went to Stoke with her. But apart from the friend side, I think she's got one of the best left foots I've seen. The quality that she has is just next to none, and I've experienced everything with her, which is a special thing, and you don't really get that with many people. So I'd have to say her.
Yeah, and I just want to get both your thoughts on the upcoming away game against Newcastle.
We'll go first.
Well, it's going to be a brilliant weekend for me personally, being a Newcastle fan. Don't know how that'll go with some Stourbridge fans, but this and this end of the woods. But I'm really looking forward to it. They're a full-time team. We've just come up, and they've just come up, but we're in both ends of the spectrum, really. So it's going to be a brilliant experience. We're just going to put on a show, make it as hard as possible for them. I don't think they'll think it's an easy game once it's all. So as long as we do that, then I think it'll be a good experience.
Yeah, I vaguely remember games from Tier 6 in the middle of the field, and I think this is probably the biggest showing of how far we've come. Sheffield United, I don't think they were full-time when we played them 2 years ago. So actually it's the first full-time football outfit we've ever faced. If you'd have asked me 2 months ago, I'd have been in a very kind of different mindset, but this group continued to startle people, and we worked really hard this week to come up with something that we think will surprise them and come and play in a way that will be incredibly difficult for them to play against. And essentially, we've been fearless the last 5 weeks, especially, and if we carry that into Sunday, it'll be a really enjoyable game. And the great thing for us is the only way the result is a big result for us in the season is if we go there and beat them. For them, if they don't do anything other than win, it's a massive result in their season. So the pressure is theirs and theirs alone, and in front of fans that can become frustrating and start to stew. So we'll see how the game goes, but we're really excited, and nice for it'll be an interesting day for you and Dad, especially, who I know is a massive Newcastle fan too. So, but yeah, exciting.
Yeah. So when you analyse a game by viewing the footage, how does it compare to when you play the game you've prepared for?
Good question. I'd say it depends on the game. I think the big thing is if we're analysing us, the footage is the biggest informant for us of what we need to do at training. So this afternoon it wasn't looking for 5 hours at Newcastle. Kind of our job's done there already. It was what do we need to do from Feds, and what do we need to do from Burnley? What do we learn from those games that actually will carry us into Sunday? But I think you can get too strung up by watching the opposition. I think it's really important that everything that we learned from this week is a culmination of our experience against Burnley. Whatever we kind of need to learn from that game, we then bring into this game. And actually, if we solved all the problems from the Burnley game, well, what does that look like now when we play Newcastle? What are the new challenges? What are the new things we're good at? We did that, and we went and played Albion, and the lessons we took from Burnley made a massive difference that day. Newcastle, obviously a very different outfit, but for us, it's another lesson. It's another opportunity to learn, and if we progress every single week, we'll be a better team for it. So
next question: what has been your favourite goal this season, and why?
All of them.
You know, you put the footage in there.
There's a few very good ones. Probably the last 5 against Albion were all lovely. The Stoke equaliser was magical. Difficult. I think in a funny way, I think the second goal against Fylde was probably the most important goal we've ever scored, because to be 2-0 up in that game and to win that game, and for Senna to have come on and started and then to contribute in such a massive way in that game, I think that was probably the most important goal we've ever scored as a club and as a team at this level, because if you don't get 3 from Fylde, you're talking a very different season. So for us to have 8 missing that day and to still get 3 points was massive. The Stoke goal is probably a bit of a favourite, really. But yeah, some good ones.
And so my final question to you: is there any news on potential signings to replace the leaders that have gone?
No news.
Yeah.
Look, there's no transfer window in women's football, so things are always ticking. There's no news until there's news, unfortunately, but we're always busy, we're always working, we're always looking at what we can do to best supplement the group. But Kelsey's got it bang on. We've got to look at ourselves first, and we've got to make sure that everything's right in camp. And if there is ever a signing, it is always done with, actually they've got to be the right fit for us, and they've got to come in and do well and do all of the right stuff. But yes, nothing to report.
Okay, guys, that concludes the press conference. Thank you very much. There's a lot of questions there that came through our Facebook groups and social media as well. So we've done really well to get through those questions. So thank you very much. Best of luck this Sunday against Newcastle, and we shall see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.